Few NFL players have a story as gripping as Tua Tagovailoa's. A college football phenom at Alabama, a top draft pick in 2020, and now the face of the Miami Dolphins. But in recent years, Tua's career has been overshadowed by a series of concussions that have left many wondering if his long-term health is at risk. Today, we're diving deep into Tua's concussion history, the toll it has taken on his career, and what the future holds for this young star. Let's break it all down. Tua's college days and early injuries. Tua's story begins at Alabama, where he burst onto the scene during the 2018 National Championship. Down 13-0 at halftime, Alabama head coach Nick Saban made the bold decision to bench starter Jalen Hurts in favor of the true freshman Tagovailoa. What followed was legendary. Tua threw for 166 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 41-yard game winner in overtime. In just one game, he cemented himself as a future NFL star. But even at Alabama, the warning signs were there. In 2018, Tua suffered a sprained knee and 2 ankle injuries, requiring surgery for both ankles. These injuries sidelined him for parts of the season. His style of play, moving around in the pocket and taking hits, made him vulnerable. The devastating 2019 hip injury. Then in 2019, disaster struck. During a game against Mississippi State, Tua dislocated his right hip and fractured the posterior wall. This injury was so severe that it not only ended his season, but many questioned whether Tua would ever play football again. Despite the injury, Tua declared for the 2020 NFL Draft, and the Miami Dolphins took a chance on him with the 5th overall pick. Let's be clear, this wasn't a head injury, but it set the tone for what was becoming a troubling injury history. Tua's NFL career begins. Tua entered the NFL in 2020 with a lot of hype, but also some concerns. He played in 10 games in his rookie season, starting 9 of them. He finished with 1,814 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, a respectable start. But it was clear Tua was still finding his footing in the NFL. He was also sacked 20 times, and the hits were starting to pile up. Then came the 2021 season, where Tua played in 13 games, throwing for 2,653 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. But the real story was the number of times he was hit. 40 sacks in 2 seasons. The Dolphins' offensive line struggled to protect him, and it showed. The concussion saga begins. Then came the 2022 season. This is where things took a dangerous turn. In Week 3 against the Buffalo Bills, Tua took a hit that left him visibly wobbly. Dolphins' medical staff controversially allowed him to return to the game, citing a back injury. Just 4 days later, in Week 4 against the Cincinnati Bengals, Tua took another brutal hit. This is called a fencing response, a clear sign of severe brain trauma. Tua lay motionless on the field for several minutes before being stretchered off and taken to the hospital. This back-to-back concussion situation led to an investigation by the NFL and a massive overhaul of the league's concussion protocols. From that moment, the debate wasn't just about football. It was about Tua's life and whether it was worth continuing his career under such dangerous conditions. Tua's return and the 2023 concussion. Despite the concerns, Tua returned in 2023, and for a while, he looked better than ever. In just 13 games, he threw for 3,548 yards, 25 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions, with a passer rating of 105.5, one of the best in the league. The Dolphins, with Tua at the helm, were seen as legitimate Super Bowl contenders. But then, it happened again. In Week 16, during a game against the Green Bay Packers, Tua suffered another concussion. This one wasn't as visibly dramatic as the Week 4 incident, but it was enough to sideline him for the remainder of the season. Tua has now suffered at least 3 documented concussions in less than 2 years. Some doctors warn that another hit could have lasting consequences for his long-term health. The science behind concussions. Let's break down the science here. A concussion occurs when a blow to the head causes the brain to move rapidly inside the skull. This can damage brain cells and create both short and long-term issues. Studies show that repeated concussions can lead to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, a condition that has been found in many former NFL players. Symptoms include memory loss, depression, and in extreme cases, suicidal thoughts. CTE has been linked to the deaths of former players like Junior Show and Aaron Hernandez. While we can't predict if Tua will suffer from CTE, his repeated concussions put him at significant risk. What's next for Tua? He's still only 26 years old and one of the most talented young quarterbacks in the league. But with 3 concussions in such a short time, many are questioning if it's worth the risk to his health. The Dolphins are committed to him as their franchise QB, but at what cost? Some experts suggest Tua consider stepping away from football entirely to preserve his long-term health. Tua Tagovailoa's story is one of incredible talent, perseverance, and risk. He's overcome adversity at every stage of his career, but concussions present a challenge that no amount of grit can overcome. The NFL is a brutal game, and for Tua, the next chapter of his career may be the most difficult one yet, deciding whether to continue playing or walk away for the sake of his future. The Miami Dolphins endured a 31-10 loss against the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football, but the focus of the game quickly shifted to a concerning head injury suffered by quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. In the third quarter, while trying to gain a first down on fourth down, Tagovailoa opted to dive headfirst instead of sliding, leading to a collision with Bills defensive back Damar Hamlin. Tagovailoa remained on the ground for an extended period before being taken to the locker room, and it was later confirmed that he had sustained a concussion. As the 5th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, Tagovailoa has faced multiple concussions throughout his career, prompting several former players to weigh in on whether he should consider stepping away from the game. On Fox Sports Speak, former linebacker Emmanuel Acho expressed his opinion. "You have to shut Tua down for the season, period. No debate, no second guessing." He drew a parallel to Luke Kuechly, a 5-time All-Pro and 7-time Pro Bowler who retired at 28 after suffering 3 concussions in a single year. You can't eliminate the violence from the game, but you can protect the athlete by removing them from it, Acho added. So, is it time for Tagovailoa to consider retirement? Ultimately, this decision rests with Tagovailoa after he's had the necessary conversations. However, the 26-year-old recently signed a significant 4-year, $212.4 million contract extension in July, complicating the situation. Head coach Mike McDaniel acknowledges the gravity of the situation. "You're talking about his career, and that's his decision to make," McDaniel said, according to Joe Schad of Palm Beach Post. "I just wish people would realize that speculating about his future right now isn't what's best for him." Tagovailoa's contract includes $167 million in injury guarantees, with $43 million already paid in 2024, according to SpotRack. If the quarterback is cleared to play but decides to retire, he would forfeit the remaining $124 million guaranteed in his contract, unless a special agreement is reached. However, if medical professionals advise him to retire due to his injuries, he could still claim the remaining amount. For now, the focus is on the immediate future. Coach McDaniel confirmed that Skylar Thompson would be stepping in as the starting quarterback, with plans to bring in additional quarterback support. What remains most critical is Tagovailoa's health. Given his history with concussions, walking away from football may be the best choice for his long-term well-being. However, McDaniel emphasized that this isn't a decision that should be rushed. "I have to prioritize his health above everything else," McDaniel said, via Cameron Wolfe of NFL Network. Concussion science shows how fragile the recovery period is, and it's crucial that we don't add unnecessary stress during this time. Let us know in the comments. Should Tua keep playing, or is it time for him to prioritize his health? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more NFL updates.